Yakfire here at First. Today we're going to be going through an appropriate protocol for extracting our plant root simulator probes. First thing we need to do is check out the equipment that we'll need to use. Okay, on the soil nutrient supply reference sheet that you've been given, it'll have a list, a code for each of the probes that's at your sampling point. So this is going to be very important to keep handy. And we'll be checking off, as you're extracting the probes, you'll be checking them off to make sure that those are the probes, that's the labels that you have for your particular sampling point. Okay, the other equipment that you're going to need is you're going to need a little brush. Okay, you'll have a bucket, you'll have some distilled water, and there'll be some extra distilled water available if you need it. Once you're done, and we'll go through the procedure for cleaning off the probes in just a second, but once you're done cleaning off the probes, you'll put all of the cation or purple probes in one bag that you label with the plot and the sampling point. Then you put the anion probes, the orange ones, in another bag. You keep those two separate from each other. Then once you're done with those probes, collecting those probes and putting them in the plastic bag, then you'll put them in a cooler. So we have a little cooler here with a little ice pack just to keep the probes cool until we can get them back to school and put them in a refrigerator until we ship them. You'll be getting a sheet of paper that has the study plot that you'll be extracting the probes from, and then the sampling point that you need to go to for those particular probes. So once you determine the plot that you'll be going to, you'll notice that there's two PVC pipes out in the plot. The one that's closest to the marker, that's the one that has the lowest number for that particular plot. So in this case, this plot has sampling point 9 and sampling point 10. So this PVC pipe here that's closer to the marker, the corner marker, that's sampling point 9. This plot also has sampling point 10, and so the one that's slightly further away is sampling point 10. So be sure you know which sampling point you're going to whenever you're pulling your probes. Okay, so whenever we get out on the plot and we're getting ready to extract our probes, well, it's pretty obvious you need to know what you're looking for. So these are the probes, the plant root simulator probes that we're trying to find. So the purple ones, those are the cation probes. The orange ones are the anion probes. You'll notice that each of the probes, they will have some sort of a code written on them, so make sure you pay attention to that. This purple probe right now, it doesn't have that written on there. The other thing is to be sure that you do not touch the membrane, this rectangular area inside there. That's been absorbing ions from the soil, so we want to be sure that we don't touch that with our hands. We will be using a brush and some water to clean those off, but be sure that you aren't touching those with your hands. Okay, so we're in study plot 1-2A. I'm at the PVC pipe that's furthest from my plot marker, so I know that's the highest number. On my reference sheet, I see I have sampling point 9 and sampling point 10, so this must be sampling point 10. Around this sampling point, I see there's 3 marker flags, and that's where my soil probes are. So if I go down and look a little bit closer, if I dig down around the marker flag, I can see that I have my 2 plant root simulator probes here next to this marker flag. The other 2 flags will also have probes next to them. So the purple one, remember that's our cation probe. The orange one is the anion probe. These are the probes that we're using for the actual study. So I'm going to leave these in the ground right now, but I'm going to go out in the plot and we're going to set up a little demonstration extraction. Okay, so we set up a little demonstration extraction here. Before we pull our probes, the first thing we need to do is label our plastic bags so that we have everything ready to go whenever we get the probes out. So just for example, this particular plot we're using to demonstrate is 1-2A, so I'll write that on here, 1-2A, and this sampling point, we'll just say, for example, that it's sampling point 10. So be sure that you have sampling point 10 written down there as well. As you're pulling the probes, you don't need to worry about writing down each of the probes that are going in here. Just check on your list to make sure that they match up, and you'll put all of the purple probes or the cation probes in one bag, all of the orange probes or the anion probes in another bag. Okay, we're now ready to extract our probes. So we go to our marker flag, we look around until we can find the ends of the probe sticking up out of the ground. I see my orange probe and my purple probe, so I'm just going to pull out the orange probe first. Whenever you pull those out, you'll notice that there will be some soil on the membrane and on the rest of the probe. So what we're trying to do is get as much of that soil off of there as possible before we put them in the plastic bag. So in your bucket, you have your brush. There might be a little extra water that's accumulated from cleaning other probes. If the water is dirty, don't worry about that. And you also have your squeeze bottle here of distilled water. So if you use the distilled water in the bottle, you'll see you can get some of that off, but some of the soil just won't come off. So that's where you put this down into your distilled water that you have in the bucket, and you use the brush. And you don't have to be too careful, okay? Just kind of softly, gently, and you can see that the soil comes off. So you can put that in there, okay, rinse that off, and just be sure that you aren't touching the probes, okay, with your hands, and just work a little bit till you get all the soil off, okay? Okay, that looks pretty good there. And then once you're done with that, be sure that you've verified that the code that you have here for this particular probe matches up with the sampling points that you had around that particular marker. Okay, so then we'll take this, we'll put that in the bag. Once again, remember, all of the orange probes will go in the same bag, and then the purple probes will have a different bag. So then you zip those up. Don't worry if there's a little bit of water in the bag. That will help keep the membrane moist in the future. And then you put that into the cooler, and then you'll take that back to the classroom, and then we'll ship those off. Okay, once you're done pulling all the probes around your sampling point, just be sure that you clean up your area real quickly before you go. So the brush, just be sure you rinse off the brush, get as much of the soil that's in it out as possible, as much out as possible. Shake that off, dump out the water that's in the bucket, put all those together, and be sure that you pull your marker flags, and that's it. You're ready to go.